The trade deadline is fast approaching. Who should the Cardinals deal and why? On today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, baseball fans. I'm JD Haffern, and today's episode is brought to you by KALSHI. For a limited time, you can download the KALSHI app. Use the code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. Trade deadline coming up on August the 3rd. A lot of the discussion this week is going to be about who's staying, who's going, who's coming in return. We're going to go through all the rumors and stuff like that, and there's a lot going on, obviously. August 3rd is not that far away. We're less than a week, and to help us sift through it all is our good buddy Thomas Gauvain from RedbirdRants.com. And Thomas, first and foremost, how you doing? How's life?
Life's good. We've got school starting in a couple of weeks, so I'm starting to get my brain in the school mode and out of summer mode, but it's been good.
I was at the grocery store today, and the whole section when you walk in is school supplies. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Time to get back to work, boys and girls. But we still got a lot of work to be done for the Cardinals. This season is, we're getting to the trade deadline, which is next week. And most people agree that, especially the way things have been going for this team, that selling is the right move. And I don't disagree with that. I would assume you're still on the same page with that as well. Selling is where you're leaning towards for the Cardinals now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we've been that way since it's not even been like in the last week and a half or so when things have gotten bad, like since the All-Star break. Like both of us had agreed that like for this organization's future, selling made the most sense, that this wasn't a team, even when they were, in the second or third wild card spot, that they weren't a team that's really going to compete for a world championship this year. So it's been fun. It was great. It's been a cool experience. There's been a lot of learning, and hopefully they move forward and are better players for it. But it's time to pull the plug, and it's time to see what else they can acquire to help this team moving forward. And that means you got to get rid of some people. So you put out a tweet on X on your newest account, because we're still trying to get your other one back, but on your newest account, about a top 10 list, really, of guys that you think the Cardinals should think about moving. And I believe that was in a ranking as well. So we're just going to go off of that. So if you follow Thomas's tweets, you know what the heck we're talking about here. So we're going to start with number one, who is an all-star this year, albeit an alternate, but he was still an all-star this year, and that was Ivan Herrera. We know the shortcomings with him defensively. Catching wise, I've said from the get-go, I just don't think it's something that he's going to be that great at. He's coming off arm surgery, but he still hasn't thrown out a runner since 2024. And I think it was Yankees Juan Soto was the last guy he threw. I think that's correct. But offensively, 244 average right now, 12 home runs, 44 RBIs. That's going into Monday night's game against the Cubs. 366 OBP. He's got a WRC plus of 114. What is it about Ivan Herrera that makes you believe that would be a really good trade chip for the Cardinals?
There seems to be a great need for right-handed hitting players, regardless of the position out there in the market right now. And Ivan Herrera fits that bill to the T. I mean, he has the power potential. We've seen tons of on-base from him this year. He has a 300 average to his name in his career as well. I know he's not a great catcher, but he has the ability to catch still. Plus the multiple years of team control. You package all that up, and you've got an excellent trade candidate for a team that's looking to improve on the offensive end, and then also get some depth at a couple of different positions. They might be more willing to throw him at first base, maybe even left field again. I know the Cardinals talked about that a few years ago, but a team acquiring him might be a little bit more flexible with his position, and he's got the power as well.
Yeah, and I know the first reaction to people is going to be like, what? Why would we trade somebody who's got control, who's an all-star? What are we thinking? But when you think about the depth at the catcher position, you think about the depth that they have in the outfield right now. Ivan Herrera is not going to outplay, or at least we hope not, Joshua Baez at some point. We hope that doesn't happen. I talked about moving him to first base at one point, and obviously you got Alec Burleson over there right now. So, there's not a lot of spots to move him to where he's going to get the at-bats except for the DH and catcher position. And like you said, they are looking for right-handed bats out there. There are just not a lot available. It was like huge news on Monday that Spencer Steer from the Reds got hurt in that game against the Cardinals on Sunday, and that he is going to be on the IL for a while and is going to be on the IL past the trade deadline, and how that was one of the bigger right-handed bats that might get moved at the deadline. And now, why would you trade for him if he's got a wrist injury? So taking advantage of what the market has right now is something that good teams would do. And that way they can maximize the return. So Ivan Herrera, certainly an interesting one. What do you think? Do you think he gets moved? What are the odds on him getting moved in your mind?
I think a percentage, if I were to put it on there, I think I'd say somewhere on like a 30%, like far less than likely, less than 50%. The other important thing to note is that he's not the most likely Cardinal to be traded, obviously, but the value that he gets back, that's the key there. It could fill a spot in the rotation that we need to get filled, anything along there. So I don't think he's likely to be traded, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is.
Yeah. And, it's what the Cardinals have in their organization depth-wise at catcher, as at right-handed batters and stuff. That's something that you got to keep in mind when you think about this, because this is not just about 2026. This is about 2027, sort of, but 28, 29. That's really what they're thinking about here. So you got to be kind of open-minded to trading guys that you might think are pretty good right now, but those are the guys that other people would want. So you got to keep that in mind. Number 2 that you had on the list here, Lars Nootbaar, who was batting .239, 3 home runs, 15 ribbies in 42 games. Again, this is all coming into the game against Chicago on Monday night. The OBP, which is, his bread and butter, is at 344. He's got a WRC plus 102. Healthy. He looks pretty healthy for the most part out there. He's been running pretty well this year. It's somebody that we've talked about. It doesn't appear to be somebody that is going to be a part of this future. He's going to age himself out. Hasn't been all that great in the first place. Most people are tired of watching him being hurt every year. Lars Nootbaar, though, somebody that could be, and again, this is not somebody who like a team's not going to trade for him and look for him to be like their number 3 or 4 hitter. This is a piece of the puzzle for some of these guys. And you think Lars Nootbaar's got some worth out there?
I do, especially with the recent news for the Yankees and Cody Bellinger. Nootbaar's value, again, comes from what the market is asking for. Left-handed hitting outfielder. The Astros are looking for that. The Yankees are looking for that. I'm sure there's other teams that would also use. I mean, he can play all 3 positions, especially with the health in his heels now that we've been seeing. He has a year and a half of control as well. There's a lot to like about Lars Nootbaar. And you look at his hitting career, he's only at 102 WRC plus this year, but he's got as high as 123 in 2022. And that's almost heart of the order stuff that he's got. It's in there.
Yeah, and that's what we've all been waiting on. We're like, well, the potential for Nootbaar, look at it. It's always so good. And it just seems like every year we keep waiting for it to happen, and an injury occurs and it knocks him back down. He's got to come back from it. So I know fans aren't going to be pleased with moving him, but some people will understand why if your center field or your outfield of the future is a Jordan Walker and a Joshua Baez, is Victor Scott still a part of that in center field? I don't know. I mean, obviously, neither one of them have hit all that well this year. Church was fine for a while, and then that's faded off pretty bad. Dropped off a cliff production-wise. Yeah. So, is it like a Chase Davis or something like that? They'll have to figure it out. Or you go out on the market and you go get somebody else. But, you got to think about that. Is Newt somebody that's going to be around here in a year or two? And probably not. So see what he's worth. The third one, which, people are – I'm still surprised that the numbers for Andre Pallante this year, 11 wins, a 3.77 ERA. The ERA plus is just at 106. So he's got the wins. We know he's way better than he was last year, but he's not, a top of the line starter by any means, but he's a good piece to be a 4 or 5 for a contending team. What do you like about Andre Pallante for another team?
For us, he's a number 2, but for another team, I think in in a 7-game series, you could throw Palante out in a game 4 and not feel too bad about your chances. And I think that's something that's appealing to some other organizations as well. He's pitching depth. He keeps the ball on the ground. He's not going to kill himself in a game. He's going to keep the team in it. If you can find a team that's got solid defense, I think Andre Palante is the perfect fit. He's not a free agent until after 2029, so he's got that team control there as well. And that's what makes him so valuable. He may have been up and down for us these last couple of years, but he's got team control. You know, for the most part, what you're going to get out of him. And at this point, he's bordering on veteran experience. I mean, he can come into a rotation that's got some youth and give it some infusion as well. His personality is something that could gel with any organization.
Yeah. And again, you're trying to get the most out of an asset. Do we think Andre Palante is going to get better than what he is right now after what you've seen over the previous few years? You know, it's debatable. It's an opinion. It's up to you to decide. And if you think this is the best he's ever going to be, you want to get the most out of that in return while he's still a hot commodity. Remember Kent Bottenfield? Remember how they swapped him for a guy by the name of Jim Edmonds? Yeah, Kent Bottenfield was coming off like a big, I think it was 18 wins or something like that. And the Cardinals were like, yeah, take him. We get it. We get it. Thank you, Angels. And they got Jim Edmonds out of it. So I'm not saying you're going to get a Jim Edmonds in return. I'm just saying you got to take advantage of a guy who's throwing hot right now, right? You know, he's just been better.
You never know till it happens.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know. All right, we're going to get to more of this list with Thomas Gauvain. We've got some pitchers to get to, a couple of relievers, and we'll also talk about the catching position, including one of the catchers actually in the minor leagues still. We'll get into all of that on this trade deadline episode of Locked On Cardinals. Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you're going to receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. And again, it's free. Like I did it today. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. I did it for Monday, and the guy who I picked, his game got rained out. So I didn't get a chance to cash in on that, but it's free. So you get to do it each and every day. Daily Dingers is another fun way to just stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep, and now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. You want to go with the Cardinals hitting a home run? I mean, who had Jose Fermin going yard on Monday? Probably not a lot of people, but you can pick the Cardinals. You can go with Jordan Walker. You can pick Cubs guys if you don't like the matchup that the Cardinals are throwing out there. It is entirely up to you. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make a free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Thomas Gauvain from RedwoodRants.com joining us here. We're talking about trade deadline, guys that are in the Cardinals system on the current roster that might fetch something pretty decent in return when and if the Cardinals decide to sell. Again, we think that that's exactly what they're going to do. You decided to go with kind of a combo catcher spot here with Leo Bernal and Jimmy Crooks. So Leo Bernal, 22 years old, switch hitter, first year at AAA Memphis, 278, 13 bombs, 61 RBIs. He's coming off a minor league Gold Glove. I know Rainiel Rodriguez is coming. Are you sure? Are you sure the Cardinals should be thinking about moving Bernal, because you also list Jimmy Crooks here, who's got a slash line at 182, 276, 338, and 614, 3 homers, 9 ribbies, WRC plus at 74. Your thoughts on the catching depth? Obviously, that's something that other teams are looking for. Everybody's looking for catchers. Cardinals seem to have a nice little package of them that are not only at the big league level, but in the minors. So Leo Bernal, why would you trade Leo Bernal?
Yeah, I actually got that question when I posted this. A little bit of an aside. I need to be more careful with how I use slashes on social media, apparently, because everybody takes that as and, not, to me, it's or. So it's like it's Leo or Jimmy, but I'll be more careful.
Right. No, I read it that way, by the way.
I got in trouble last time for it. Whatever. Bernal, I put up there. I think catchers in general have far less value to teams in a trade that are acquiring them than the teams that have them. So to us, Leo Bernal, Jimmy Crooks are catchers of the future. To other people, it could be splitting time at catching. It could be depth pieces. I think Bernal is interesting because he has that defensive aptitude that teams are looking for. He can control a staff. He's a switch hitter, which is not something you see very often from the catching position. And then he hasn't even made his debut. So there's still that prospect shine to him. Whereas with Jimmy Crooks, he's kind of lost that a little bit. His offense is less than what we expected, although he's actually on a bit of a heater of late. I believe he's one of the best hitters over the last month or so on the team. So Jimmy Crooks has lost a little bit of that shine, but I still think he's got enough value to other teams based on his team control, his prospect pedigree.
Are you a little bit shocked that they haven't played Jimmy Crooks more, considering where, like, the season that we're in, where you're supposed to kind of see what the hell you got, and it just feels like I don't see him enough to know. I don't know what he is yet. Like, I can't tell if he's a crappy catcher or he's a good catcher. I know he strikes out a lot. I know he's got some pop. I've seen him put a few over the wall that have gone a really long way. But I feel like I'm not learning enough about Jimmy Crooks so far this year.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the problem with that at the beginning of the year was Pedro Baez getting so many starts, and then Pozo also being on the active roster. They were kind of clogging up a handful of his starts here and there. And then the insistence on getting Ivan Herrera catching, which I wanted. Like, don't get me wrong, I wanted Ivan Herrera to be thrown out there and see what he could do at the catcher position. But I think at this point we know it's not best for him and the team. So that might have been stalling Jimmy Crooks starts a little bit here and there. But I would imagine, except for the Cubs series where they have all left-handed pitchers, I would imagine we see Jimmy Crooks getting more time down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a real bummer. And that's what you mentioned, Leo Bernal with the switch hitting. And it's like, well, you don't really have to worry about matchups as much when you got somebody who can do it. I have no idea if he's a better right-handed or left-handed hit. I don't know. I haven't gotten to see him play enough, and I haven't deep dove into any of his stats for that. I just know that it seems like each level, he's kind of doing the same thing. He's around 275, hits about 15, 20 home runs. And, you got the Gold Glove defense that you had in the minor leagues last year. So, I want to see him, before I move on from him. But again, a team gets desperate and they just start throwing crazy ideas at you. Somebody that the Angels, Mo recently said something about maybe looking for a catcher for the Angels, which is funny after, they had O'Hoppe that everybody was so excited about. And, could you do something with him to pry one of those pitchers away from the Angels, since Mo's familiar with them? It's just something to chew on, something to think about. Riley O'Brien was on your list here. 3-4, 3.67 ERA, 26 saves coming into Monday, 4th in Major League Baseball, 2nd in L. But the ERA plus is at 110, which is something I always look at. So he's 10% above league average. And when you look at the other guys that are right there, the 3 guys ahead of him in saves, you got Mason Miller, whose ERA plus is 5.03. That Thomas, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know you could do that.
Brian 5 closers in one.
Yeah, Brian Baker's at 276, and then Cade Smith for the Guardians, who leads the league in saves, he's at 161. Again, this feels like one of those spots where Riley O'Brien with the saves. People see that, they're like, hey, this guy might be pretty darn good. He's taken a long time for him to get here, and this is one of those moments too where, like, hey, maybe you can squeeze more out of him right now. Is he ever going to be better than he is today? Think about that. And it's hard to think that he ever will be, Yeah,
I think with relievers, it's such a volatile position. You really don't know. There's always that hope that they hold what they're doing or they flip the script. And O'Brien seems to have decent metrics. I mean, he's got the good K rate. He's plus in fastball velo, ground ball rate, who still gets some strikeouts. He just gets himself into so much trouble with hard hit balls and not being able to control the walk game and prevent things from getting out of hand, which is not what you want in your closer. But maybe as he gets more experience, I know he's 31, but he still's only been playing in the league for a couple of years now. Teams can look at, we have him for 3 more years. We can iron out those deficiencies. He could be a really good setup man for us for the next few years as well. There's potential in Riley O'Brien.
Yeah, and that's what I would think of. When I see Riley O'Brien, I think he's filling a void that the Cardinals have right now, but he doesn't belong as a closer. He should be a guy that's taken down righties and is a guy that's a situational setup type of guy. And I think on a really good team, that's exactly what he could be in the 7th or 8th inning. He just happens to be the best the Cardinals have to offer right now. And that's why he's in a closer role, which probably isn't the best spot for him. Dustin May, we've talked a lot about him. Obviously, he's made the second most starts he's ever made in a season, so health has been huge for him this year. Although he had a little spot there where he wasn't feeling so good. But 5-7, 4.59 ERA. He's got some filthy stuff. It just it's either he's really on or it seems like he's really off. There's no in between. The area plus at 87. How do you think Dustin May's market is right now? Do you feel like it's still strong, or do you think it's weakened after what he's done? Since that. Where he tried to go for the no-hitter and things kind of went south for him for a little bit.
I think it's still strong. His numbers are better than last year, and he got a pretty decent trade package when the Red Sox acquired him at the deadline. I think that teams will still look at him as a number 3 or number 4 potential to start in a playoff game, which is what a lot of like when a team acquires a starting pitcher, they're like, can this guy start a playoff game for me? If the answer is yes, they'll give up some things that might be uncomfortable for him. If the answer is no, they'll hold off. And I think Dustin May could get a playoff start for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
The questions for the Cardinals when dealing him is, do we think that we can get a better pick as a compensation pick when he declines his qualifying offer that they'll probably offer to him? And if the answer is yes, they could do better with the compensation pick, they'll keep him. If the answer is no, they'll trade him for whatever sort of prospect package they could get.
See, Thomas always giving you all the angles here of what to think about. It's not just black and white with the trades. Like there's other things to think about. Jojo Romero is another one. 1-3, 3.35 ERA. ERA plus of 120. Appendicitis, obviously, at just the worst time. Like you feel bad for him because, this was a chance for him to really boost his stock. And, if he did really, really well, the what size contract might be waiting on the other side for JoJo. Interesting enough, lefties hit 265 against him, righties 229. So he's kind of got those reverse splits, which is always nice. If you're going to bring in a lefty in, you want him to be able to get out righties too, which it's weird that the lefties hit so well off of him. But JoJo Romero, if healthy, probably somebody that needs to be on the move, right?
I think so. I thought he was going to be moved last trade deadline when the Cardinals really knew they weren't going to do it and they're doing the whole reset. I really thought he'd be gone year and a half of control, but I think at this point he's still, lefty rental reliever. Teams are always looking for those. I think the Phillies would be a good match for him. That seems to be, I know we got him from the Phillies. Yeah, like we gave him Edmundo Sosa, so just send him right back to the Phillies at this point and see what we can get back from them. But I think there's a lot of teams that need a lefty reliever out there, even though he's not necessarily a lefty specialist this year. He still has the ability to get both sides out at a decent clip.
Yep. I fully agree. All right, we're going to get to the final names on the list here. Another reliever, another catcher, and then a third baseman that has been in the minors for a little while now. So we'll talk about those guys and maybe some targets if we got time. Some guys that maybe the Cardinals should be looking at as guys that do have control past this year that they should maybe show some interest in. So we'll have more with Thomas Gauvain from RedbirdRants.com coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Make baseball season more this year on KALSHI, America's #1 prediction market platform. You can trade on every single game. The Cardinals are trading at 51% to beat the Cubs on Tuesday, meaning that a $100 trade pays out $186.03 if they win. If you go with the Cubs on a $100 trade, that pays out at $197.04 if they win. So you make the call. On KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, which will happen, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more. Do it on KALSHI. Download the KALSHI app and use code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. KALSHI, KALSHI. KALSHI. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk. It may not be suitable for all investors. KALSHI products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We've got Thomas Gauvain from RedwoodRants.com talking MLB trade deadline. Ryan Stanek, we're going back to the bullpen on this one. Ryan Stanek, 2-2, 4.46 ERA plus of 90. The guy hits triple digits. He's got fun hair. I root for him because I like the kind of dude he is. I like the energy that he brings to the mound. I just wish he was better. And I wish he had better control. I wish he didn't walk people so much. So there just feels like there's been a lot of really bad innings for Ryan Stanek this year. But doesn't mean he doesn't have some value on the market. What do you think about Stanek getting moved? Think that's a possibility?
I don't know why the Cardinals would hold on to him. I mean, it's not like he's an extension candidate. He's rental. He's done after this year. Trade him for whatever prospect you can get. Get a Blaze Jordan, a guy who can fill a role for you in the next year or two. Get somebody, even if it's just minor league depth, to backfill guys that we promote after the trade deadline. I think that's something that could be useful to the Cardinals. He doesn't provide value for us either on the roster or anywhere else after the trade deadline, so may as well move him for what you can get. I think teams will look at him as a nice, like, if my starter blows up, we could throw Ryan Stanek out in the 5th or 6th inning. He could be a good bridge to the A bullpen that we have later in the game.
Yeah. And you're not going to get a whole lot in return for him, maybe a low-level prospect, but those trades have worked out for some teams in the past where they go, oh, just for throwing this guy out there, and we'll take Junior Caminero is one of those guys for Tampa Bay that they got from Cleveland. It was just, it's a low-level prospect, and they turned into superstars. So it can happen. Back to the catcher position, Pedro Pages, 207, 4 homers, 11 ribbies. He's more defense than offense. We know this. WRC plus at 58, the OPS plus 62. There's no place for him left in St. Louis. There's just other guys that are coming up, and it's time to see those people. So, and you always need somebody that can be a backup at any point. Pedro's not going to be a starter for anybody, barring like some catastrophic injury. But he is somebody that, hey, maybe somebody will take a flyer on, right?
He is, and I know I keep going back to the team, but I think the Yankees might be a pretty decent fit for him. Right-handed catcher, backup, he can fill in a spot for them too. It's not going to be the Cardinals trade Crooks or Bernal and Pedro Pages, and it's going to be one of those 4 guys, probably, maybe 2, just to keep some catching depth in the majors. But Pages could fill a role for another team. I think once we moved him off the primary catcher role, it might have been a sign of like, hey, thanks for what you've done. Instruct our catchers as we bring them up, but we might give you a chance somewhere else.
Yeah, and everybody needs catching. A solid backup catcher is not the easiest thing in the world to find, and Pedro's done good here. It's just the Cardinals need to look at other guys, and so there's just no playing time left for him. And finally, your last guy on the list here, a guy that maybe some people have completely forgotten about, is Nolan Gorman. 194, 7 home runs, 26 RBIs while he was up with the team. WRC plus at 66, OPS plus at 70. Down in Memphis right now. Not the greatest numbers, 154 average, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs. Although I saw that Brendan Schaefer was talking about this on X and mentioned something about, I was like, the numbers, they don't look all that sexy, but he's actually been a lot better as far as like getting on base and stuff recently. So your thoughts on Nolan Gorman and his place with this organization moving forward?
Yeah, Schaefer also talked about his approach, which is something that the Cardinals were hoping that he would work on as well. Trading Nolan Gorman reminds me of when the Cardinals traded Dylan Carlson in 2024. Carlson was at 1,600 plate appearances. Gorman's at 1,800. It's one of those, like, we've seen what we have out of him. He isn't what we thought he was going to be his first year or two. It's time to move on. That's what it feels like with Gorman. I think because he has that power perspective, he might get a better return than we got for Dylan Carlson, which was Sean Armstrong. I know it was a playoff push-ish that year in 2024, so we were still looking for some help in the bullpen. Maybe Gorman could get a different type of prospect that the Cardinals are looking to get, but it's more of a, we've seen what we have. Thanks for your time. Let's give you a change of scenery.
Yeah, which is a spot that they, some people thought we were in with Jordan Walker, and it's a good thing we didn't do that. But I'm not saying that Gorman is Jordan Walker, and this is the same situation. I totally get it. I know we got excited about Blaze Jordan out of the gate, but he's no power at all since he came up. It's been really odd that he hit that big home run. What was it, second game against Minnesota, and then nothing There's nothing has left the yard
Nope.
ever since. Although he's had better at bats than what we saw from Gorman. He doesn't strike out nearly as much. He's putting the ball in play. He's driving in runs. Just haven't seen the power show up yet. But I feel like there's still a big hole at third base, don't you think?
I think so too. I think center field, third base, and rotation is where we're going to need to see some big improvements these next couple of years.
Now, real quick before we wrap things up, who are a couple of the possible targets? Because you put out an article on, there was like 8 possible targets of people who actually have control moving forward that the Cardinals should show some interest in. Can you give us like 1 or 2 of those guys, and then we could send our boys and girls over there to click your link and check it out. But what are some of the names that you got listed up there that might interest them?
Yeah, I've got George Kirby, pitcher for the Mariners. He's got team control. He's got the stuff that the Cardinals are looking for that they haven't been able to develop really since Jack Flaherty. I think George Kirby would be a good pickup. It cost a lot. Ivan Herrera, maybe. But I think there's a way in which we can coax him out of the Mariners' hands. And then a reliever from the Giants, kind of a wild guy, Caleb Killian. I look at his baseball savant page, look at his strikeout and walk rate, but there's potential there for him to be more than what he is right now. Tons of team control. I think that he'd be an interesting guy for us to acquire and play around with a little bit with our new pitching development.
All right. Well, we're going to send that link out in the show notes here, and you guys can click on that and check out the other names that are listed there. A few pitchers, a few players. It's a good read, so check it out for yourselves. And thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Thomas, where can everybody find you on the newest X account?
Yeah, it's Thomas Gauvain 2. Like you told the people earlier, we're still working on getting the original Thomas Gauvain back. And at that point, I will then have a poll to see what I should use my new account for, whether it's a burner or a different interest of mine beyond baseball. We'll see. But I'm on X there, Thomas Gauvain 2, and then Redbird Rants as well.
All right, check it out. And for your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. You'll get local analysis, but it's on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Thomas, thank you as always, buddy. Appreciate your insight.
All right. Thank you, JD.